Evening. Welcome to another episode of Imitating. This is series 1, episode 6. And as ever, we've got a couple of fantastic guests with us. Largo, regular contributor to the show. Evening, sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, how's everything,
Hope
mate?
you've all had a good week.
Well, good. Well, good to be one word for it. Yeah. How's things with you? Good?
Good. It's been a successful week. That's all I can say.
Well, you're in one piece, you're still here, etc. And Kaz, first but by no means last appearance on the show. How are things, mate?
Oh, absolutely fantastic. Yeah, really good. Thank you.
And it's nice to be joined by your beautiful cat.
Yeah, your cat's making an appearance. Well, there you go. The real star is the cat.
Well, that would imply some cats aren't beautiful, and yeah, that's wrong. All cats are beautiful. I love cats.
Well, I don't know. What about Inspector Gadget's cat?
Thank you. Yeah, brilliant. My cat's called Rosie, so that's Rosie.
Yeah.
Rosie's the cat. Yeah.
Yeah, and Rosie's going to be the star of the show. I can see it already.
I love it.
Yeah. Right, so I've got the brown ale on the go. It's 0.5% brown ale. I'm still having to be responsible because I'm just coming out the worst of it.
Have you been ill?
I've not been. I had that colonoscopy, didn't I? I've not been right ever since. Yeah, I'm just getting right now. Kaz, that looks like red wine.
I can't even see the video anymore. Yes, it is red wine. And cheers. You know, cheers, guys. Nice to meet you, Lago. Fantastic to meet you.
Swill of red wine for the working man or woman. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, what's a bulk? Yeah, and you can even go down the wine tasting route and go, I'm getting hammered. And Largo, you're on the usual, aren't you?
Yeah, just Mal Classica.
Yeah, right, there you go. Yeah,
I'm not a real beer on, like, some people go all out on the beers. I don't. I prefer, if I really had a thing, it would be red wine or whiskey.
Yeah, well, Spain's Rioja country, isn't it?
The north of Spain is.
Right.
Where I am, it's La Mancha is probably what's it called? It's just basic red wine. The best wine is Riojan wine because they get more rain, but here you don't get a lot of rain.
Right. Okay.
If you've ever seen it, maybe you see it in Asda as a wine called Albali.
Right.
That's the wine from around here.
Right. Okay. I will check it. I will check it out. Although I've got some. I might be a few weeks away from being brave enough to try it. But there you go. Well, I'll keep you posted.
Do chill your red wine, guys. It is okay to put red wine in the fridge.
Right. Okay. Well, I haven't. I always thought it was white that went in the fridge, but maybe I'm.
Red can go in there too, and it's absolutely fine, and it tastes great. Don't think you have to follow some stupid rules. You're paying for it. You can drink it how you want.
Oh, I know that absolutely. If you want to mix it with Coca-Cola if you want, or another leading brand, or another leading brand if you don't like Coca-Cola. Okay.
Absolutely, that's called a calimocho. It's a very nice drink.
Yeah, a lot of Spanish young people drink it.
Yeah. Once you have paid for it, once you have purchased it, you can literally do whatever you want with it.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you. Absolutely. Yeah, that's the great thing. Rules are just a rough guide. Kaz, have you had anything interesting or exciting happen to you this week?
Well, yeah, not really. Not really.
It's okay. It's not a trick question. You can say no.
Yeah, not really. I've bought a dishwasher this week. And I've got to go to Skipton tomorrow to pick it up. And that's about the most exciting thing that's happened. Right. I'm still waiting for a response from the civil court. So I'm a bit on edge about that. But apart from that, no, nothing. And of course, it hasn't arrived yet, this direction from the civil court. So I'll have to wait and see what that says. Yeah.
Yeah, well, one of the reasons I was keen, no, for sure. One of the reasons I was keen to get you on is obviously you've had some dealings with the state. Obviously, we can't talk too much about specific things because they're in play and we don't want to commit subjudice and that kind of thing. But it always makes me laugh. It always makes me laugh, when people talk about I hate capitalism and and they hate private business, and they think that it'd be better if the government ran everything, because the government is never dishonest, never tells lies, never shafts people. Yeah, I just find it absolutely baffling when people think that.
I'm not the biggest fan of capitalism.
Me too. Yeah, but government, the problem is with government and enterprise is that it's not really run for the people. It's run for the government. It's not run for the people. So there's a lot of corruption going in there.
The problem is with the UK, you can't really trust the state because we never had a proper revolution like the French did.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm 100% behind that.
There's what was the Who wrote a song about it, and one of the lines was "Meet the new boss, same as the old boss." It's called "Won't Get Fooled Again."
Right? Yeah. Well, don't.
And it's basically talking about whatever we do, it doesn't really matter because we never had that revolution in the same way the French did.
And
the French are brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really good at defending their rights. I have a property in France, and so I see what happens when the government do something that the people don't agree with, and it's fantastic.
Yeah,
they kick off big time, and it's so good to see it that they're defending their rights.
But the thing is that
I just can't understand why the UK people just aren't in the same frame of mind. They're like pussycats.
They're just, I don't know. I don't know if they're sort of subdued with the chemicals in the crap food or...
Yeah, I'm getting that.
Or the crap
chemicals, crap food.
The brain gets, like that film, They Live, the brain gets cooked by secret messages on the chase or whatever,
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that.
What I would take from France, though,
prevents people from just standing their ground and standing up for their rights.
Absolutely,
I can't believe how bad these people are. When I say these people, the UK people just let everything just go on around them, and they do nothing.
They get mad at the wrong stuff.
They do nothing. Yeah. So,
the thing is, though, with France, you could say that the French. I mean, I know this to be true because I've spoken to a lot of French people, and they say this: that in France, the government is legitimately frightened that the people could one day just kick the doors in and just lynch them, just kill them. But in the UK, people are frightened of the government.
Yeah, it's basically the other way. Basically the other way around.
It shouldn't be because the people have got far more power. But they don't.
Yeah.
They don't actually appreciate the power that they have.
The French have fought for it, though, and they do continue to fight for it. They're incredibly brave nation. Untold respect for the French. Yeah, they're amazing civilization.
Me too.
I think we have had several generations in this country who haven't really had to fight for anything. And actually, one of the ways this manifests itself is these silly kind of woke, trendy causes. These fake civil rights movements that you've got now, who are actually fighting nobody.
Like which one?
Well, I mean, like LGBT, like BLM, like the trans activists.
It's interesting you mentioned that because. Peter Tatchell, I was watching an interview with him, and he's just always somebody I'd just instantly dismissed as a knobhead. But he actually started off. He was somebody that, what would George Galloway say, metamorphosized from a butterfly into a caterpillar. Because Peter Tatchell started off out of the anti-death penalty movement in Australia. Like he came from like a really good place, and now he's just sort of degenerated into what he is today.
Well, I don't know what he is today because I've not followed what he's done for the last 20 years because he kind of bored me at that point.
he's heavily involved in the trans lobby and things like that.
Because the thing is the trans issue. It's dividing gay people. It's dividing feminists as well. You know, there are feminists who are pro-trans and feminists who are against. And you can see these little kind of, these kind of intersections, like they're kind of fighting, they're kind of cannibalizing themselves and each other. It's actually quite funny to watch from a distance. So it's like that's a cat, right? Yeah, there you go. I'm going to take
again. Sorry.
There you go. No, it's all right. Dad, shut up. The cat's here. Right, come on. So, yeah. So, right. So, I wanted to. Yes, there's nothing for you this week. No further excitement for you, Largo.
Not really. The heat's gone down a bit here, so might be able to wear trousers in a day or two. Still on shorts for now.
But I can't wear shorts because I look ridiculous in them. So don't worry. Yeah. All right. Cool. The closest thing to a story I've had this week is having a bit of a fright, Kaz, when I saw our nemesis, in my neck of the woods the other day. It's funny, really, because we're doing a Halloween special next month where the special guests will be the Chewits Monster and the Liberal Democrats. There you go. You've heard it here first. It promises to be a terrifying program. All right. So just looking at tonight's business. Then we've been talking about certain things that we think might be miscarriages of justice. Obviously, the Lucy Letby case has been in and out of the media. And there's been this very strange turn of the media narrative around it, from she's a monster to, oh, she might be innocent, don't you know? And I know, Kaz, you've been looking at the Beverly Allett thing, which is where Beverly Allett was almost like a kind of Lucy Letby prototype, right? And I've always assumed her to be guilty. So, what was your take on it, revisiting that?
Sorry, are you asking me, Daz?
Yeah, you're going to.
I'm going to put the cat down because I've got to get a hold of my notes. Because I actually spent the whole morning looking at the Beverly Allett case. Yeah, I just thought there was a real sort of correlation between the Allett case and the Lucy Letby case. And what I've actually ended up doing is reading this article, which is from the Journal of the Royal Society of Medicine. And what that actually says is, well, I mean, I've got two whole pages of notes that basically it shows that there is such a similarity between these two cases that can't possibly. Well, I mean, it's as if the Beverly Allett case was a blueprint for Lucy Letby, because it's the same procedures. It's the same evidence that they've collected, i.e., that they've said that Lucy Letby was on duty according to the duty roster. She was on duty when all these cases, happened, and it's exactly the same in the Beverly Allett case. But the problem is with the Beverly Allett case, I think it's a real miscarriage of justice, because she's actually accused of 4 murders, and that's what she was convicted of. But the fact is that all 4 of the murders had autopsies that deduced that there were natural causes to the deaths. So, I mean, that has to raise a massive query as to what the evidence says. I mean, there's all sorts of things in there. All sorts of things in there that I think are really questionable. For example, the police have actually gone back after having received a complaint, or a heads up from one of the consultants who worked at this Grantham hospital, and basically what they've done is they've investigated, and they've come up with the fact that Beverly Allett was on duty when these children died. But that doesn't mean that she was responsible for their murders. And in actual fact, there's no evidence that suggests that these kids were murdered. Absolutely none. And it's all circumstantial. And I can't believe that nobody has actually, well, I don't know whether anybody has. I'm saying that. I don't know if anyone has actually taken this up on behalf of Beverly Allitt and said this is a miscarriage of justice.
Well, I don't either. Like I say, Kaz, I always thought she was guilty. Okay, so this is news to me. This is genuine news. But you said you'd look into it.
I did too. I did. You know, this was in 1993, 30 years ago, and I never. I suppose it's because I didn't have an interest. I didn't pursue it. I didn't look into it. You just accepted what the media told you, which was that she was guilty of these murders and that she had Munchausen's by proxy syndrome, and that's what the underlying mental health condition was. But the fact is that she only made a confession after she'd been incarcerated in a mental health institution. It actually stinks. It stinks. It's not right, and it stinks. That's my view. Sorry. Just to
the uninitiated who don't know, just describe Munchausen by proxy to anybody, because there's an insinuation of this in the Letby case as well, isn't there? What's the So what do you just describe what that is?
Yeah, hang on a second. I did write it down exactly what that meant. Yeah. Might have to put my glasses on.
That's okay. We'll go through it. It's where you get this with parents who hurt their own children, and they will use it as a way of drawing attention to themselves. They will inflict harm upon somebody else.
Yeah, the Munchausen syndrome is where people harm themselves or others to attract attention. So the
others is the by proxy bit. Munchausen is when you do it to yourself, and by proxy is when you involve somebody else.
When you do someone else. So the fact is that there is no proof that that this harm was done. And I mean, I really need to maybe look at this in more detail. But certainly, what I've seen, I mean, I just picked up an article. I decided I would compare it with the Lucy Letby case. And what I'm actually seeing is that all 4 of the victims died a natural death. So how can they say that she murdered them? That Beverly Allitt murdered them? And it's all circumstantial evidence. It is really unsafe. Well, that's my opinion.
Here's a name for you. Here's a name for you from the other side of the pond. Have you heard of a woman called Audrey Marie Hilly, Cass, or Largo? Have you ever heard that name?
I haven't heard of her, no.
Right. Well, she was a woman who killed 2 of her husbands, both husbands, I think, by poisoning, or tried to kill her daughter as well by poisoning. I think it was a husband and a daughter, an attempt on a daughter by poisoning. And I think the husband, it was for life insurance, and the husband was originally ruled a natural cause of death or something like that. But when they started to get suspicions after they found evidence of poisoning on the daughter, that's what they had to do, Cass. Right? They had to exhume the body, re-examine it, and go, by the way, the original verdict was overruled. This was foul play. This was likely foul play. This was poisoning. And so that's the thing. If you haven't got something, in an autopsy, a post-mortem, whatever, that says this was likely foul play, yeah. I mean, this should be a slam dunk for any credible defence solicitor, shouldn't it? Which makes you wonder what certain people's solicitors were doing.
A lot of them are horse traded.
The thing is with the Beverly Allitt case is that I mean, I've obviously looked at the circumstances, But the thing is, all three. I'm not counting There is. She was accused of 4 deaths, 3 of which were babies, but the 4th was actually an 11-year-old child who had learning difficulties, and he had epilepsy. So
this is
I think
Lucy Letby.
that
No, is it Beverly Allen?
Oh, of course, yeah.
This is Beverly Allett. So, but the 3 infants that were involved, neither of them had the same cause of death. The first one was apparently some sort of insulin-related problem. The second was potassium chloride, and the third was an enlarged liver, which they say was stuffed full of glycogen, which is glucose. So the fact is that they can't even relate these deaths together. And the guy who died, the boy who died at 11 years old was deemed to have died from epilepsy, from the consequences of epilepsy. So it really doesn't make sense to kind of accuse someone of causing these deaths when the method of murder wasn't even consistent. And it just doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to me. And to be quite honest, if I was involved, I would be seeking a judicial review on the evidence, because it is nonsense to suggest that Beverly Allen actually conducted these murders. He didn't murder these children. These children died as a result of medical negligence. And that's what it seems to me. Yeah.
But
anyway.
Just so we are clear, we cover ourselves legally there. They're statements of your opinion. We're not saying that as a fact.
That is my opinion. Yeah. I mean, from a legal point of view, my opinion is that there is not the evidence to suggest that these children died as a result of being murdered, but the evidence is there to suggest that these children died as a result of medical negligence. And that is exactly what happened, or in my view, what's happened is in the Lucy Letby case. The children who died died as a result of medical negligence, and the doctors have basically pushed it onto Lucy Letby, basically as a scapegoat, and that is.
In your opinion, Laura, did you have something to add to that? You're going to come in.
No, this is all new information to me. I'm just listening. I'm not disputing or agreeing. I'm just. No,
it ties in with something I was going to bring up, and we were discussing the other day, Kev. I'm wondering about something here, right? You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, it just ties in what we were discussing the other day. I know we were preparatory for this, but I'm wondering if there's ever been a culture in hospitals, that mistakes that lead to death get swept under the rug, and there might be a thing where there is a culture of negligence and things get covered up, and then unfortunately,
you mean back in the day where you had police officers to cover up for each other?
Yeah, and you still have it. But you know what? You might have. Have you ever covered for somebody's mistake at work? I know I have. So the boss doesn't find out.
100%, I have. I've bailed people out before and stuff.
Of course you do, because it's called being a good teammate. But then, if you're in a hospital and the potential of it's a potential death if you make a mistake, it's very tricky in a lot of ways, because you want people to apply to be nurses, right?
I mean, I've never been in a job where it's life and death situation.
No. Yeah. I'm wondering if there was a culture of, well, shit happens. How else are you supposed to learn? I mean, this is totally wrong, and it'll be against the rules completely, obviously. But could it be that actually there was a culture of covering up deaths by negligence, and then it's got to a certain point when people started asking questions, and
could be.
Yeah, and you've got
could be.
Yeah, and rather than dealing with and obviously if that came out that culture existed, there'd be an absolute outcry about it. It's actually easier in situations like that to say we've got one rogue killer nurse on the ward than actually we've got a whole culture of protecting people who accidentally kill other people. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Have you any thoughts on that, Kaz?
Well, I mean, I don't know whether you already know my thoughts on that, but you know, I mean, I lost my daughter 9 years ago, and
I'm sorry about that.
And the culture of cover up is absolutely horrendous.
I didn't know that, Carol. I'm sorry to hear that.
No, but I can't go into details. But you know, the fact is that this has been covered up, and the extent by which the cover up operates is unbelievable. I can't go into detail, but I do know that cover ups do happen, and they get away with it. They get away with it because people don't understand the mechanisms by which they actually do the cover ups. After 9 years, I think I do understand how this is done, and and that's all I can say. I'm not in a position to kind of divulge any more information, but there is the culture of cover up, and it is live and active, and it happens all the time. There must be many people.
Yeah. Do you mind me asking how high have you taken it? This, I mean, have you tried going through complaints procedures, written letters to your member of parliament, things like that?
Yeah. I mean, the problem is that because it's a government organisation, we also have this issue of the actual complaints being stopped. All I can say is that.
It's worth saying the stuff that's active at the moment as well, isn't there?
Oh, right, sure. Yeah, okay, sorry about that.
It's very active at the moment. So, but I can assure you that there are. How can I put it? It's a very government level cover up. It's not just local level. There is I really can't say much
it's
about
fine,
it.
Carol. It's fine.
There is a massive cover up, and hopefully I have uncovered the mechanism by which this is done, and I've got nothing else to say. I don't want to compromise my own position on.
The other thing, because I didn't intend. I hope I didn't hit any raw nerves or anything I said there. I just saw some parallels in what in terms of what's happening with these cases you mentioned earlier. Actually, it may not be as straightforward as these people are wholly innocent or these people are completely guilty. They could well have killed people by accident or through negligence, and it was covered up at the time. And then at some point, it can't be covered up anymore because it's got out of hand or it's got to the attention of the wrong people, and they've been thrown under the bus. I mean, I don't know if you've seen any of the police interviews with Lucy Letby or not. I was shown a few last week actually, and around the time she wrote these notes. These notes that have become a thing of legend.
The diaries.
Yeah, Kaz, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm listening. Exactly. Her confession notes. But
they're not confessions at all.
There's obviously a view on that. I mean, what's your view, Largo, on the confession notes?
My view is that if you're going to counselling, and your counsellor has told you to write down all the thoughts that enter your mind, those rights and those diaries should not be taken back. Like cars that pass a motorway, or river or water that passes through a river, a point in a river. It's just thoughts passing through somebody's mind. it should not be taken as seriously as Hansard.
No, the thing is as well, if you've been for therapy as well, there's kind of an oath between you and the therapist that unless you flat out confess to a crime or say you're about to commit one, what goes on in that room stays in that room. Yeah. It's between the two of you. Now, if this was a confession, is my question. If this was a confession, then why wasn't the counsellor coming forward at the time and saying she's just confessed to murder? Because she didn't.
Because she was probably horse traded. Counsellors, I mean, they can be bought and paid.
Because she can.
Yeah. There's a professional obligation upon the counsellor to report these things. So if someone actually says that, it implicates someone else in their situation, then there is a legal obligation upon the counsellor to actually report it. So why wasn't it reported?
That's my point. Yes. So if you say you have committed a crime or that you are about to, then that oath goes out the window.
Yeah.
But that is the only circumstance. If they reckon that you're a danger to yourself or others, or you admit to having done something serious, and I'm pretty sure killing people counts, then it's gone. Yeah, then you can forget your confidentiality.
You guys are breaking up.
So sorry. Right. Okay. Right. Well, let's hope we come back to life soon. Right. Can you hear me, Kaz?
Oh, you're back to life now.
Right. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. I can see that. I can see these notes being the product of a conversation with a counsellor that went, these accusations, how do they make you feel? Or something like that, and they've been taken completely out of context. And next thing you know, they're being used as evidence in a court case, which is crazy. Get the counsellor and the therapist up there and say, well, hang on, did she confess to any crime to you? No. And the answer would be no, because we'd all know about it if she had. We'd have known about it a long time ago.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there would have been a definite statement that she had. And the thing is, she must have been under absolutely incredible pressure. I mean, I can't imagine how old was she? 20s? I can't imagine how she must have dealt with that. I really can't imagine. I just can't imagine how she would deal with that. Faced with all these accusations, how did she deal with it? And these notes, we don't even know where these notes were made. All that we know is that they were retrieved from somewhere, but where? We're not given the full story about where these notes appeared from, and I just can't imagine a young woman being accused of all these crimes, being in an absolute situation where she could defend herself. She wouldn't. She's serious. I wouldn't. If I was at that age and those accusations were placed on my doorstep, I wouldn't be able to defend myself. And I think I'm a fairly intelligent woman. Yeah.
Well, you are. Anyway. Yeah, we have known you for a long time.
Yeah, you are.
The thing is that the other thing I'm just thinking about this is it's quite a frightening kind of legal precedent in a lot of ways, because I'd like to think that if you do go for counselling or therapy or anything like that, then look, part of the thing is, if you've done let's say you've done something stupid that is well short of being criminal, for instance, I'd like to think you can admit that to your counsellor, and it stays between the two of you. This is completely out the window now, isn't it? If they can dig out something that was in a private conversation with lots of medical professional, and they can use it against you, perhaps years later, it's frightening.
How they can convict you without any DNA evidence or any actual evidence, because your previous conduct makes you look like the type of person who would have committed said crime.
It's just the old bad character evidence piece.
Largo, that's a really good point, because no, it's an excellent point, because this is the point that they look upon a person's history and determine what their future actions are going to be. So in the case of Beverly Alice, they actually said that she was self-harming from an early age. So somehow that actually supported the theory that she suffered from Munchausen's, right? So because she was self-harming, and it is exactly that. You know, it's all about the history of someone. Yeah, Lucy Leslie. I mean, I just don't know. Yeah.
That's ludicrous anyway, Kaz, because people self-harm for all sorts of reasons. You know, that's
What
absolutely
they
mad,
do,
isn't it?
exactly.
So maybe that intellectual leap.
They self-harm, but does that mean that they're murderers? No, it doesn't. It does not mean that they are murderers and that they would take someone else's life.
Absolutely not.
It's a very serious accusation. Is murder? Murder is a serious accusation. Yeah.
Well, it's the most serious one that could be levelled at anybody. So look, it's curious how this narrative spun as well. The media, the mainstream media, I don't trust it, and I politely advise people to take what they see in the mainstream media with a pinch of salt. But it seems to have gone very, very quickly from she's a monster to oh, she might be innocent. Who knew that? So did you? Just before we got to move on to other things, do you have anything else you want to add to this? So,
it sounds very similar to a case, and granted, it's a different country up in Scotland. Called, the Luke Mitchell case.
I've said a bit about it. Yeah, so he seemed like a bit of an oddball and a bit of a strange character. That was it. But that was it.
He was an easy candidate. He was into heavy metal. He was a bit of an oddball, single-parent family, teenage lad, easy prey.
And so crystal clear, there was no actual evidence against him. I'm just from what I've seen, it was all circumstantial again.
Yeah, it was all circumstantial, and basically, it boiled down to, well, he looks the type.
Yeah.
That was enough.
Well, I was gonna. Obviously, that was a good segue at what we're going to go through next, because we were talking in the week about British exceptionalism and perhaps it being misplaced, maybe as Brits aren't, maybe as English people aren't as great as some of us like to think we are. I don't know, but we do excel at miscarriages of justice, don't we?
Well, we seem to excel at miscarriages of justice. If you look at countries of comparable population, say Germany or France, Britain and America just lead the world in miscarriages of justice. It's one thing, like you said, we really do excel at. And it's nothing new. We've been excelling at it for most of the 20th century. I mean, the most famous French one would probably be the Dreyfus affair.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm more familiar with the British cases.
I'm writing it down because I don't know about what's it. The Dreyfus affair.
The Dreyfus affair. Yeah.
How's that spelled?
Drey.
Foss. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
Okay, I'll find it. Thank you.
I know of it, but obviously I was thinking of British cases.
I don't know.
The ones like Timothy Evans, Stephen Kisco, the Birmingham Six, the Guildford Four.
Gosh, the Stephen Keithco one is heartbreaking.
It's awful what happened to Stephen Kisco. Presumably familiar with it.
No, I'm not really. No.
Right. Well, that was a murder of a little girl, bless her, called Leslie Moulseed. I think it was on the Lancashire-Yorkshire border, wasn't it? And it might have been technically in Yorkshire, but the Yorkshire police were investigating it, so yes. And then they pulled Kisco in. Kisco was a bit of a simple guy. He had kind of
learning difficulties.
Yeah, he was childlike in many ways, and he was a harmless, bumbling guy, really. And he dragged him in. He interviewed him with that solicitor. His barrister at trial was absolutely useless and threw him under the bus. Was one of the worst defenders I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But he also that name, you'll know the name. The name was David Waddington. He went on to become Home Secretary. So who says failure doesn't pay? And he
ex-Tory
ended up,
MP, wasn't he?
Yeah, he became the Home Secretary under Thatcher. So it was pretty bad at his job that day with Stephen Kisco. And Stephen Kisco did 16 years inside for a murder he didn't commit. Developed schizophrenia. Was
he got given hell inside as well.
Yeah, but he had schizophrenia as well because he was traumatized. Just the whole experience. Being a child killer as well. He would have got the roughhouse treatment from other inmates, and he developed schizophrenia inside. They finally let him out in '91 because it was proved he didn't do it because Kisco had a condition.
93 actually.
Was it right?
Yeah.
It was in. He had a condition called hypogonadism, which meant that his stuff didn't have any sperm in it, and the DNA showed that the guy who did this awful crime, didn't have hypogonadism, so it couldn't have been Stephen Kisco. It was actually a guy called Ronald Castry was later convicted of it.
There was actually a very good series with Sean Bean in. From about, I can't remember, 15, 16, 17 years ago now, called Red Riding. And there was a character in there strongly based on Stefan Kithko.
Right, that would be a Ukrainian name, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think his mum was Ukrainian, or his mum and dad were Ukrainian.
Yeah, it's a heartbreaking because he never hurt anybody in his life either. It's a heartbreaking story. He was actually a gentle soul who wouldn't hurt anybody. Bless it. R.I.P. Bless.
No, he really was a gentle soul. Yeah, he was. There's actually a very good film about it.
Yeah, it's called A Life for a Life. Is that what you're referring to?
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah. So I think it's on YouTube if you want to watch it. Everyone's watching.
It is.
A Life for Life.
The dubbing's a bit off.
Yeah, it is. But it's quick and free. So there's that, and there's obviously stuff around the Jerry Conlon and his friends. And the one I remember about that was when they got out, they got confessions beaten out of them by the police.
But that was standard. That was standard practice back in the day.
Yeah, well, that was what caused Pace to come in the 80s, wasn't it? It was found that was going on everywhere. There were confessions being beaten out of people. You had interviews not being taped. People being interviewed without solicitors, including minors. And it was absolutely horrendous. The policing culture, and the Conlon and his obviously not too late for his dad, but Jerry Conlon and some of his friends got out it was in 1990.
I think it was 89.
Yeah, and the thing that I remember about that was when they got out, there was that loudmouth gobshite Tory MP David Evans, if you remember him, that guy who owned Luton Town.
Oh gosh, the one who wanted to bring in ID cards for hands.
That insufferable knobhead, and he started saying that Conlon and his friends got off on a technicality, which they didn't really. And there was a thing where they said, "You say that one more time, and we'll sue you." And he had to issue a public apology. Yeah.
Was he also saying that they only got out because they gave information?
I don't know about that. They said something like, that was the thing. They got off on a technicality. Was the thing.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think having the shit beaten out of you by the police until you confess is a technicality. Actually.
Yeah.
If you call that a technicality, that's got a broad brush.
People forget they were actually still teenagers when they got jailed. I mean, Jerry Conlon was only 19. He was still a teenager.
Yeah. So much life, just so much human potential.
He was essentially, he was just a teenage building site labourer. I mean,
easy pickings. Sort of DOS in between job, from what I could see.
Yeah, he was mucking about, but he was doing a bit of the building site labouring and drinking, smoking dope, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it probably wasn't an absolute saint, but you don't have to be. It doesn't mean that it's okay, does it?
No.
Kaz, were there any cases like that spring to mind for you that stand out?
No, not really. But you're making some really good points there. I mean, I've made a few notes. I'm going to look up some of these people.
Look up
I'm
Susan May
not,
as well.
who's that? Susan May.
May.
Yeah, I've got her name down here, definitely. And Luke Mitchell. So,
please do. Yeah, there's a campaign about that as well.
I'll do a bit of research on these people. But, thanks so much, because it's great that we can talk about these things.
We still can just about. The show's still going. We might get shut down yet, Kaz. You never know.
Yeah, exactly. We can talk about these things at the moment. So thank you guys. I really appreciate the fact that we've got a forum where we can just express our opinion.
Yeah, thank you for careful. Thank you for being here and for being you. Until Keir Starlin shuts us down. Yeah, I see. He's been in the news. He's been accepted. Mr. Public Service has been accepting quite a few freebies, hasn't he? He's on the gravy train.
Personal shopping.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's on the gravy train, boys. That's it, right? Yeah. That's the thing with these self-styled socialists. They love a bit of material.
He's not a socialist, though.
I think he'd call himself.
He's a multi-millionaire.
No, I'm not either. I'm not anything.
I'm a proper socialist.
Right.
I'm not anything. I'm just not anything. I don't want to affiliate myself to any party.
That's
my dad always said they piss in the same pot.
They do, but I've been to Denmark, and Denmark's a lot better than the UK. I think the UK needs to be more like Denmark, a bit more equal.
Yeah, there are places.
Just say one thing though. Denmark is not a socialist country, and people from Denmark say it's not a socialist country. It's a soft capitalist country with a bigger safety net than we've got.
Well, let's have that then. I'd be
alright.
I'm a Denmarkist.
Right, a Denmarkist. You're a Great Dane. Who's your favourite?
Scandinavian socialism.
Who's your social democracy, maybe? Who's your favourite Great Dane then? Who's your favourite Dane, Margo?
Bridget Nielsen.
Bridget Nielsen. I thought you were going to say Brian Laudrup being a Rangers fan. You've got a soft spot for Rangers. Right, well, okay. Who are you going for, Kaz? How's Christine Anderson or someone else?
Oh, are you asking me a question?
Yeah. Favorite Dane. I'll say Peter Schmeichel.
No, I can't say that. Yeah. I think he's not the favourite Dane.
That's fair enough.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, thank you.
It's all right.
You've been doing. Yeah.
Do you want to, it's up to you if you want to stick around for a few minutes and talk about this optogenetics thing or not, Kaz. Or do you want to do it another time?
No, let's talk about it. Let's go.
About it, but I don't know. Sorry, I can talk about it, but I don't know much about it. I don't possess any expertise.
But we can talk. It does. Okay, but the optogenetic thing, you were saying it's basically something to do with the vaccine, which puts some structures, which triggers some structures in the body, which then can themselves be triggered by, you said, by blue lasers. Is that right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The thing is, all my interests were triggered by this guy called Gardenia, who is part of the American Defense Agency. And he basically said a couple of years ago that there were lots of biological weapons about. And it was like, I don't really understand what he means. But what it turns out that there's this branch of science called optogenetics, and it's the process by which blue laser beams can activate self-assembly units injectable into the body. So what you have to question is what these self-assembly units are. But apparently they are found in vaccinated people. So there is an article that was published by the Japan and South Korean scientists, and this is a peer-reviewed article, so it's completely legitimate. And what they've identified is that the vaccination has formed various nanostructures. So these, in other words, these are the self-assembly units. So there's a connection here between the optogenetics and the actual vaccination. Yeah. So I will actually capture the screenshot for these nanostructures because they are quite amazing. They're absolutely amazing. But what they're anyway, I haven't got to the main point yet. Is that when these blue laser beams are activated, they will turn people violent. So, in other words, the people who have been vaccinated have been injected with this substance that forms nanostructures, or should I say, self-assembly units, which can be activated by this blue light and can turn people absolutely violent. So, is this a way of turning the population against each other? That's the question.
Well, it could be. I mean, if you get everybody beating the shit out of each other, that's a good way to reduce the population, isn't it?
Exactly.
You know, but it's interesting what you're saying about that. So you said that's Japan and South Korean medical authorities who have done this study. It's peer reviewed. It's serious stuff. It's not. Yeah. It's not like that dossier we used for the Iraq War then. And yes, it's a serious review. I'm just thinking about the way it ties in with the social pressure that was put on people to get the vaccination in the first place. Because I remember that being absolutely horrendous. I'm not vaccinated myself. I never got it. I prefer to have an immune system. I
did.
Yeah, you got one because you didn't have much of a choice.
I know you did, Lago,
yeah.
but that was because you were pressurized, and I actually think a lot of these vaccinations were placebos. They were not really. They were not real. And the reason I come to that conclusion is if they were real, then lots more people would have had side effects from them.
I mean,
you have to put yourself in the mind of the person or the people who actually. I mean, this sounds really bizarre, but you have to put yourself in the mind of the people who created this scenario. And if you wanted to be legitimate, you would not make the vaccinations. You would not make them all the same, would you?
No, because people would need different amounts for body weight and.
Exactly. But all I'm thinking is that if these vaccinations were really damaging, then you wouldn't give everyone the vaccination at the same time, because otherwise you'd have all the people who were vaccinated just dropping like flies. Anyway, that's just my
no, you're
theory.
right.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say that it's actually like a good. I mean, even despite all the social pressure, and I know it's a lot less in a lot of other countries as well. We were amongst I tell you, this is another thing we excelled at is sheep mentality and pressurizing each other. Do you remember that on social media where people would go up with that? Oh, I've had my COVID vaccine. Oh,
yeah, but it was the same in many countries in Europe.
Yeah, it was
the same here.
That ridiculous thing where we all got told to go outside and clap like demented seals on a Thursday night.
That happened here as well.
Did it? Yeah, I'm sorry. But
there was people with pots and pans here and stuff,
beating their saucepan, literally beating their saucepans.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I don't know if that
God.
happened in the UK, but there's people here with pots and pans and things.
Well, there are people doing it over all sorts of things on a daily basis, but you know, I just remember the social pressure to get it was absolutely. And people asking, "Are you vaccinated?" Look, it became like the modern version of "show us your papers." You know, particularly the circumstances you were telling about. Look,
The
you're right.
Brits love stuff like that. I mean, look
We
at the
do now. We have done for a
look at the
while.
shit they give people who, I mean, by the way, I think it's actually quite a noble thing to wear a poppy, but look at the shit they give people who don't wear poppies.
It's an expression. It's an expression of your.
And it's like, why aren't you wearing a poppy? And to which I would reply, none of your business.
Correct. It's got nothing to do with you. It's got absolutely. Yeah. I mean, whether you do or don't. I mean, you know, and that's not the only way you can respect people who died in wars, is it? You know.
No.
I always think, you know, these are the same people. A lot of these people are the same people who, when there's something going off in another part of the world, they want to throw our soldiers into it like lemmings and watch them die on Sky News. You know, I mean, this is.
I respect people who died in wars by not voting for people who want to start wars.
Yeah, I think the best way you can respect people who died in wars is not start any new ones, right? And not create any new war victims. I think that's a great idea.
I happen to be the son of somebody who fought in 2 wars, in the Falklands and, well, Northern Ireland wasn't really a war, but there we go.
No, but there's in the Falklands as well.
Yeah.
But the best way to respect past war dead is not to create future war dead.
Exactly.
It's quite obvious.
I mean, it was what was it? Tony Benn said, if you can find money to kill people, you can find money to help people.
Yeah, well, they always look. But that's the thing. It's one of those things where when you sent me that video in the week about British people and their mentality, you know, whenever there is trouble in a part of the world, you get the same old faces, the same old people getting up and saying, "Let's go in." You know, let's send our people and our tanks.
Let's invade Zimbabwe.
Let's invade. Let's wherever it is. Let's invade. You know, and I just think, you go to Sweden, you go to Denmark, you ask if their people are thinking like that. They're not, because they haven't got this strange complex that I think British people have got.
They don't have that culture, though. They don't have that mentality. No.
I mean, most sensible people think war's a pretty bad thing, and it should be avoided.
Well, it's a failure.
Well, it is, yeah. So, yeah. Well, in terms of the lockdown thing, I tell you, there's so many funny stories we can tell about the lockdown. It might be another time. We've been going nearly an hour. Kaz, I presume you need to get off and do some other stuff in a few minutes. So, is that right?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
No, it's cool. I'm just sticking it. Yeah, it's no. Just thank you for being here. I'm just conscious that you wanted to do a show and get on some stuff. You have some phone calls to return and everything. So, but we'll definitely have you back for an episode of series 2.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. How's the youth playing going along, by the way?
Anyway, goodbye from me, and hope.
Bye, Rosie.
You got the cat? Can you see the cat? I don't know.
Bye, Rosie. Absolutely beautiful.
Frozen.
Yeah, well, Rosie. You see, Rosie's upstaged all 3 of us, hasn't she? There you go, Rosie. Yeah, there
you go. She's beautiful. Absolutely. Oh, there you go. Is that a good picture?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, tonight's star was Rosie. Kaz was merely here, as were we.
All right. Anyway, nice to meet you guys. Lovely
nice
to meet
you, Carol.
And hopefully we'll speak
Look
again.
after yourself.
Yeah. We'll catch up soon, Kaz. Maybe the music night. I'll bring Chewits, all right?
All right. Cheers. Bye.
Yeah. Cheers, mate.
Bye.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, I'm good, mate.
Yeah. I'll see you later, mate.
All right. Bye, mate.
Bye.
So yeah, just we're going to wrap up and do you want to do this top 10 thing? Your top 10 list, look.
A top 10 list of what?
The Scandinavian footballers. Did you come up with a top 10, or should we just do mine?
No, I can give you my own top 10 if you want, just off the top of my head. I haven't well, let me think. So who would I put at number 10?
Well, sure. I've got mine written down. So you have some time to think.
All right,
Obviously,
you give me yours.
Right, so my top 10 Scandinavian footballers, focusing mainly on modern stuff, but there are a couple. So number 10, I've got Toddy Jonsson, who's the Faroe Islands' greatest ever player. Number 9, Ida Gudjonsson of Iceland. Number 8, Niels Lidholm, Sweden. 7, Jari Litmanen, Finland's greatest ever player. Number 6, Gunnar Nordahl, Sweden striker. Number 5, Henrik Larsson, who needs no introduction. Number 4, Erling Haaland. So again, Norwegian. Number 3, Michael Laudrup. I've got Denmark's second greatest ever player. Number 2 is Zlatan.
Okay.
And my number one is Peter Schmeichel.
Peter Schmeichel.
Peter Schmeichel got number 1. So honourable mentions. Honourable mentions are Schmeichel was also the name of. Was it one of some of these pet in Coronation Street, wasn't it? Honourable mentions are Solskjaer, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Thomas Ravelli, the goalkeeper, Brian Laudrup, Christian Eriksen, Sammy Hupia, and Gudjonsson's dad, who was also a pretty good player.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just want to go which ones of those you wanted to put in there.
I'll come at number 10. I'll start with Jan Åge Fjørtoft.
Fjørtoft, what the heck? A bit left back one.
Number 8, I'll go for.
Where's number 9?
Andreas Andresson, who played in the 90s for Milan.
Oh, is he the guy who used to play for Newcastle as well?
He played for Newcastle as well. Yeah.
Right. So
but he had quite a stellar career with Sweden on the international. Yeah. That's that.
That's number 9.
At number 8, I'm going to go for Thomas Brolin.
Right, a thin Thomas Brolin.
Yes, a thin 90s Leeds United. Thomas Brolin.
Yeah. And part of Thomas Brolin. Yeah.
Number 7, I'll go for Brian Laudrup.
Right.
Number 6, I will go for Ida Gudjonsson.
Right.
Number 5, I will go for Thomas Graveson, who was a Galactico at Real Madrid.
Oh, yeah, they went from
He had a fight with Ronaldinho. Sorry, what number did I say I'm up to?
That was number 5. So, yeah, got some big ones going to miss that.
I'm going to have to go for... I can't really leave him out. Erling Haaland.
Yeah, okay, we've both got it at number 4. It's interesting.
Kind of have to, really. Number 3, Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Yeah.
Number 2. Number 2, I'd have to go for... Oh, yeah, he's a goalkeeper, though. Schmeichel. Right,
so Schmeichel was my number 1. You've got him at number 2, okay?
Number 1, Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
So, no, Ibrahimovic was number 3. So you've got Michael...
number 3. Okay, I'll put...
So you've got Michael Laudrup still to pick as well.
Michael Laudrup. Okay, so I'll put... I had Ibrahimovic at number 3. Okay, I'll put Schmeichel at number 3. Ibrahimovic number 1, and number 2 I'll go for.
I was thinking with Michael Laudrup. Thinking, was that already Henrik Larsson? So
Michael Laudrup, number 2.
So there's no Henrik Larsson in your top 10 then. That's interesting.
Did I not mention Henrik? I thought I put Henrik Larsson at number. Okay, no, Henrik Larsson. Objectively speaking, 90 goals a season average. I'd have to go for Henrik Larsson. Yeah, number 2. Henrik Larsson number 2. Zlatan Ibrahimovic number 1. Yeah.
Do you know there's a funny story about Henrik Larsson, which was that this was when I think it was Craig Brown and Alan Green were commentating on a match of 5 Live.
Yeah.
And they got into an argument because Alan Green described Henrik Larsson as a poor man's Michael Owen, right? And
Henrik Larsson's better though.
Yeah, no, Craig Brown said, no, I think you've got that the wrong way around. He said, Michael Owen's a poor man's Henrik Larsson. And there was an argument between the two of them. And then years later, This is when Larsson had left Barcelona and gone back to Helsingborg, and Man United went to borrow him for a few months.
Yeah,
and then they were playing. Man United were playing, and Larsson was having a stormer. And Green had to say, I think I get your point now. Larsson was the better player at the two, wasn't he? It wasn't finished when he was 27 either. You know, so.
No, I think he was playing for Man United at 35.
Yeah, he was not young.
And he had a pretty successful career at Barca, whereas Owen's career at Real Madrid was pretty meh.
It was one long injury as well, wasn't it? I mean, after about 26. I've always thought with Michael Owen, the big part of the problem was that he was playing like 30, 40 games a season. You know, when he was still growing. He was basically a kid. Yeah. His body was still growing. It wasn't set up for. It wasn't ready for that kind of stress and strain of playing 30, 40 games a season
He's actually a pretty questionable person as well in real life.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a video of him doing a soccer skills thing with Neville Southall? Neville Southall is coaching the goalkeeper, and Michael Owen's coaching the other kid taking the shots, and he's going, "Look at how I strike this. I just love volleys, bam, bam, bam." And then he starts celebrating it, and Neville Southall, bless him, goes, "Yeah, well done. He's only 14."
Right. Well, yeah. Well, look, he was a cracking player for a little while when he was at the start of his career. But it was a shooting star that burned out at a very, very young age. You know?
I always remember his best World Cup was '98 World Cup.
Yeah, he was put in that squad in '98. And they wanted to get him. They wanted to get him in the team. People wanted to get him in the team instead of Sheringham. But it would have been interesting to put him and Sheringham together and drop Alan Shearer, funnily enough. But
people forget that tournament. England actually lost to Romania.
They did.
Was it Moldovan scored?
Yeah, because. But Romania were a decent team in the '90s. They were. It's not a massive shock, is it?
But I think they beat England again in 2000. 3-2, was it?
They did in 2000. That was that. I was in a bar that night watching that game. It was a bit of carnage at the time. England were 2-1 up in that game at one point. It was 2-2 with like 5 minutes left as well. They were going through it. I think Phil Neville booted somebody up in the air. It was a penalty, wasn't it? Phil Neville kicked somebody up in the air. It was a penalty right at the end. But that was during that brief Kevin Keegan era when we all found out that, by the way, if Kevin Keegan hasn't got a checkbook, he's pretty useless.
He did resign.
Yeah, he did. That was so. He did a decent thing.
Yeah. You can't fault him as a human being. Like, he did a decent thing.
Yeah, I think he realised this shtick wasn't going to work at that level or in that kind of football.
Southgate is just no dignity.
That's an interesting statement you make. I mean, I wouldn't quite say that's the problem. I think the problem with Southgate, mate, is that the team's done quite well despite it, and that's the issue.
2021.
Yeah, I mean that whole tournament. It's almost as if that tournament was set up for us to win, the dice was loaded in our favour, and we contrived not to win it.
Beaten Denmark.
But when you've lost the final on penalties, you can't really sack the manager, can you? It's kind of difficult.
They shouldn't have beaten Denmark. They were so lucky against Denmark.
Wasn't there that thing? I'm just with conscious. Yeah, we're going to wrap up in a few minutes. But wasn't there that thing that there was a thing where there were two balls on the pitch when that penalty got given? Wasn't there a point at which there were two balls on the pitch and the game should have been stopped?
Yes.
Right, I'm not imagining that. If it had been the other way around and the Danes had got a penalty, we'd all be hopping mad and going mad about it for 30 years afterwards.
I think we played one game in an empty stadium in Rome. But apart from that, every game was played in front of like 40,000 people at Wembley.
Yeah, exactly. I think they played 6 games and 5 of them were at home. Was it 6 out of 7 or something like that?
Yeah. And when France played the World Cup in France '98, when they played the Euros in 2016, they played like all over France. So they played like a game in Marseille, a game in Paris, a game in Lyon. You know, they played like all over the country. Whereas England only ever exclusively play tournaments in Wembley.
Yeah, well, I quite like when Wembley was getting rebuilt because they went on a little tour around the country, didn't they? They had England
they play like a match in Sunderland, you know, match in Birmingham, match in Southampton, match at Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, it was great.
I think they played quite a few matches at Old Trafford as well when England beat Greece. Sorry, drew 2-2 with Greece. That was at Old Trafford.
It was, yeah. They've had games at Anfield, St James's Park. It was
great.
They've done that before. Yeah, it's
in Italy, they play like all over the country.
Yeah, we were talking about some very, very random grounds in Italy of hosting international football. You know, I mean, like pretty much any ground that's played, you know, has had Serie A team playing in it. It's had an international at some point.
International match,
yeah.
It should be. I don't like all the matches being at Wembley because, to be honest, it means you have to go to London, which is horrible.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, well.
London is horrible. I'm sorry, just objectively speaking, if you compare it to like any other major European city like Vienna or Madrid or Cologne, London is just horrible. Copenhagen, anywhere.
I don't like. I get it. I get why this would be like in a slightly smaller country. I get why. You know, if you had a population of like 10 million or something, you have one city was clearly the biggest. Why you might have monopoly? There's no need for the England national team to have monopoly. They should go around the country. They should go around the country. They should have a game at Wembley, and maybe, you know, if they've got 5 or 6 games in a qualifying group, you know, home.
There's a lot of people in Scotland who want rid of Hampden Park.
Yeah, no, if you got they went through a phase of doing the same though, didn't they? When they were redoing Hampden Park, I remember them having games at Kilmarnock and Aberdeen and whatever.
Sold Dundee United. It was great. Yeah. And then if it was a really big one, Ibrox or Celtic Park. And we're even in talks now about playing games at Murrayfield because, objectively speaking, Murrayfield is just a better stadium than Hampden.
Well, yeah, it's bigger as well.
And I think Manchester United play some friendlies there, you know, because there's a lot of Manchester United fans in Scotland.
Right, well, yeah, well, there's Manchester United fans everywhere, to be fair. Yeah.
They played Lyon at Murrayfield.
Right.
And it wasn't full, but it still looked pretty good. And just objectively speaking, closer to the pitch, it's more modern. It's just a better city, and it's easier to get to than Hampden, because Edinburgh's not such a big city, so it's quite you can pretty much walk everywhere in Edinburgh. Like if you know, it's kind of like walking from Preston bus station to Deepdale. You know, from Edinburgh Central Station to Murrayfield, it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's quite.
Yeah, bus, but
yeah.
I mean, objectively speaking, Edinburgh is just a better city than Glasgow.
Yeah, well, I've been to both. I prefer Edinburgh. It just seems a more. I don't know, it just seems a more cultured place. That's all I'll say.
It is, and it's better organised.
Yeah, that wouldn't say anything. Upset everyone from Glasgow. Yeah, just right. Yeah, was there anything else you wanted to touch upon quickly before we knocked off for the night? Anything particular?
Not particularly, mate. How about you?
No, not really. I mean, yes, I'm just trying to get some guests on the show for the next few weeks.
I'd be interested if we got something like a wrestler on there or something, someone involved in the wrestling industry.
Yeah, okay.
I watched a documentary about a bodybuilder called Dorian Yates. That was quite interesting. So I think like bodybuilding is quite interesting. Or even boxing as well. Like a boxer would be quite interesting.
Yeah, somebody involved with boxing, sure. Yeah, I mean, but it's quite interesting with boxing. Boxers are generally pretty respectful people. There's one or two who aren't, but most, if you spend any time around boxers, you'll know what I mean.
Yeah. I haven't, but I don't doubt you.
No, yeah, if you spend any time in gyms or just, I used to cover boxing, in a writing capacity as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've done a bit of writing about boxing, covering fights ringside and maybe, yeah. So, sorry?
Have you ever sparred?
When I was in my 20s, I went to a boxing gym briefly just to get fit, and it was an eye opener. I think I had one sparring session, decided it wasn't for me. I'm a bit of a pussycat, mate.
I can imagine it's pretty intimidating.
Yeah, sparring. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you've got to, to be involved in boxing, you actually get in the ring and box. You've got to
like the metaphorical thing of stepping through the ropes.
Yeah, it is.
Boxing is just the psychological step from the safety of the ramp to you're in the ring, and there's nothing between you and him but air.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the thing with wrestling is at least you've got the whole thing. You've mapped out with the other guy, hopefully in the dressing room beforehand, and you know who's good. You know what the final outcome's going to be, who wins. You
might be with somebody who thinks you need to pay your dues.
Yeah, or you might be somebody who's got a reputation for being stiff and hurting people in the ring.
Yes.
There's plenty of people like that in wrestling. But obviously in boxing, they're hitting you for real, and they're trying to hurt you deliberately.
Sure. No, I'm not saying wrestling's tougher or anything like that. I'm just saying.
But you're right. In terms of working, people get the wrong idea about wrestling. They think that because the outcome of the matches is determined in advance. So I know Roddy, who was on last week, I know his son is involved in wrestling and is a wrestler himself, right? That's Roddy's son is a wrestler, okay. And if you speak
about PCW.
Yeah, right. Well, we'll have to get Roddy back on for sure. We'll get a bunch of people on for the Christmas special. Don't worry, but. People think that because wrestling, the results of the matches are preordained, that wrestling is fake. Well, no, a lot of the bumps are real. The injuries are real. Yeah. People don't realise that. And sometimes it can spill over into real fighting. I mean, I was watching that Regal versus Finlay one. That match.
That's massacre.
Yeah,
but the thing was Regal. Regal was the guy who said, you want to get this bloke over. He's rather good. He was the one that said, get Fit Finlay in there. He's really good. So he wanted himself to get beaten up.
Yeah, he's hardcore. Well, they were saying it was on that WrestleMe. You do a good impression of Regal, by the way. But on WrestleMe, they were saying this match should have been an ECW.
Have you ever heard Regal talk about Goldberg?
Yes.
Yes. I can't make him kick him. I can't make him kick me. What am I supposed to do? I can't myself, can I? Yeah. Well, this is the problem, it's one of those where it comes down to who you believe, doesn't it? Do you believe that Regal was told to lie down? I'm inclined to believe Regal, truthfully, I'm inclined to believe Regal, but I'm also inclined to believe he was taking an advantage. He was taking liberties.
Look, it's quite possible. It's quite possible.
He was probably high or drunk at the time.
Well, that's the rumour. Yeah, was this around the same time he pissed on an air stewardess?
Yeah. He said he went back to that, and him and Eddie Guerrero spent a week smoking crack after that match.
Smoking crack?
Something like that, yeah.
Good God! Right. I didn't think English people did crack, but there you go.
Eddie Guerrero was American.
Yeah, but Regal doesn't have to join in, does he? The
the guy had all kinds of drug issues, I think.
I know it's quite surprising when you think of it, because he always struck me as pretty sensible. Yeah, and you know,
I wish it still had the book.
Yeah, it was called Walking a Golden Mile, I think it's called.
It was a good one, but you can't. I got it years ago. I lost it. Oh, I'd give anything to get it back. You know?
Right. I'm see if you can buy it online. But the thing is,
no, it's crazy expensive.
But you know, if you heard that he was, if you heard he was like, he was drinking too much, he had a drink problem, you believe it. I just can't believe some of the stuff about him. Given how sensible and together he always comes across. But that Goldberg thing, it's quite possible, mate. He had one of them days where he got pissed. If you've ever been at work and you've seen somebody who's got on when you haven't, and it's really pissed you off.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
And it's quite possible Rick will have one of those days where he goes, well, I'll bloody show him. Yeah?
You've got the bloody NFL bodybuilder.
This clown's getting a push and I'm not. Right, well, I'll tell you what, I'll show him who can wrestle and who can't.
Chain wrestling, like 1970s grappling moves.
Yeah.
Cartwheels and stuff while he's holding onto your wrist.
Yeah, it was clear who knew what they were doing from a technical point of view. Yeah, but let's be crystal clear. An office head Stephen Regal is still has probably forgotten more about wrestling than Goldberg will ever know. Yeah. All right, you still there, mate? Yeah, your line's got a bit odd. Your line's got a bit funny there.
I was just going to say, in a real fight, Regal versus Goldberg, who's your money on? Mine, Regal, every day of the week. Yeah,
of course it is. Of course it is. Yeah, because fighting's not all about physiques and being body beautiful, is it?
It's just Regal, man. Have you seen Stevie Ray talk about Regal?
It's part about smarts as well. And Regal would know whatever you put on him. Regal would know his way out. No, I've not.
Oh, it's funny if you find Stevie Ray talking about Regal, and he's going, "Yeah, I knew Regal was going to do that. I knew it. I knew it. Why? Because it's Regal. Because it's Regal. Regal is just an impudent man."
Do you know? I was making Kaz laugh the other day. Have you seen that promo he does? Where me and Gene Oakland, I'm going to go after this, I think. Me and Gene Oakland asked him, says, Lord Stephen Regal, I hear you've been spending time with Sarah Ferguson. Have you ever seen this?
You know, Regal got in trouble for that. He got, I think it was MI5 or something on the phone to him.
Well, he said it was like spending the night with a ripped out fireplace.
Yeah. That was 98. Something like that.
And you see me and Jim muffling his own laughter. On the camera. No, he's there biting his own
hand. Regal said he legitimately got a phone call off someone from the British government saying, "You need to stop doing that for your own safety."
Right, you can't do that joke again. Do not tell that joke again on camera. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. That's well. There you go. So I can believe he did. I suppose he has made a joke about sleeping with a member of the royal family, and he hasn't. But
basically, and someone's told Prince Andrew or whoever, and one of Prince Andrew's heavies got on the phone to him and saying, "Don't do that."
Right.
Because Prince Andrew probably just has loads of people in his phone book that can go out and intimidate people.
Yeah, well, he's probably got 8 of those and Pizza Express walking on speed dial. Yeah.
No, but he will. No, but seriously, he will have them.
Yeah.
He'll have a little.
Yeah. Well, the Royals will definitely. Yeah. Right. No, a fantastic show again. Special thanks to Kaz and Rosie, of course.
Have you heard any more from our friend Craig?
Craig, we'll get round everybody, and we'll come back.
Did he say he enjoyed himself last time?
Oh, he definitely did. He had a great time, and I saw the share on social media, and he was and he had a great time. We'll get round everybody, and we'll get to season 2. Season 2 in 2025, and we'll do all this again for sure.
Oh, one thing I had to ask you before you went: did you catch the Preston Fulham game?
I did. Yeah, it's funny. I went into work on Wednesday, and somebody asked me if I was at the match last night, and I just joked, "It's still going on, isn't it?" Yeah.
Man, that was a weird one.
It's a record penalty shootout, isn't it? Is that the longest penalty shootout?
Is it an English record, a UK record, a world record?
I think it is for the League Cup anyway. It is for that competition.
I strongly support abolishing the League Cup.
You get rid of it.
Yeah, they got rid of it in France.
Well, you'd have to do a bit of a thing into whether it's making money for anybody. You know the old thing.
The Preston were playing a Premier League team, and the stadium was like a quarter full.
Yeah. So if you can demonstrate, that'd be a little litmus test for me, mate. Would be if you can demonstrate the old days. Like in the old days, that that game would have had 16,000, 17,000 there. You know, if you said Preston at home to a Premier League team in say the 90s or the 2000s, that would have been enough. You know, and it would have been when interest in that competition was high.
I remember. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So now, it seems to have waned massively. It's not a priority for people.
What was the attendance?
I think it was 5,000.
That's pathetic. I remember last football match I went to before COVID. In fact, the funny thing about this, I watched this match as I was on my way to the airport. So I watched the game and then I went straight to Manchester Airport. I watched Preston against Norwich in the FA Cup 2020. I think Norwich won at a canter. It was like 4-2, but it could have been more. Yeah. And there was about 6,000 on. And that was Norwich. They were like a mid-table Premier League team at the time, at that moment. And
so that was the FA Cup as well?
That was the FA Cup. I mean, granted, Preston, I think, were managed by Alex Neil at the time.
Well, ex-Norwich manager as well, then.
Yeah. And bearing in mind, there was 6,000 on, and there was probably about 2,000 from Norwich.
Yeah, I think the whole thing about the romance of the cup, it's gone, hasn't it? You know, and in terms of like unless you're a non-league team and you get somebody from the Premier League,
it went the moment Man United decided not to play in it.
I think there's a bit more to it. Like, you can't hold Man United singularly responsible for that.
No.
There's a bit more going on. I think it's just become a lower priority for some of the football clubs involved. And obviously, when you get into things like finishing in the top four is more important than winning the FA Cup. You know, it's devaluing.
When Arsenal used to scrape top four, and they'd be like throwing Wenger up in the air and stuff.
Yeah, for finishing fourth. Like
they won the FA Cup, Wenger would be getting like.
When back in the day, you got in the European Cup for winning the league, but you know what? For second, third, fourth, you got in the UEFA Cup, and for winning the FA Cup, you got in the Cup winners, and that was about equal.
Oh, Cup Winners' Cup, that was great.
which was gone about the end of the 90s, and so I think a lot of it's to do with that. A lot of it's to do with the fact that actually, what counts and what matters in terms of qualifying you for stuff. It's just shifted massively. Yeah. So maybe we could, when we get a football orientated guest on, maybe we can have a further chat about that. So there's nothing else from you before we shear off, mate.
Nothing for me, mate. I'm off out.
Okay, well, as long as you've enjoyed the show, I hope everyone else has as well.
I loved it, as always.
Great stuff, and much love to Kaz and Rosie. Thank you so much both for being here.
Much love to Kaz and Rosie.
Brilliant, and we'll see you all really soon.
Okay, mate. Bye now.
Okay, right, night, everybody.